Frontier Radio Reading Service, a private not-for-profit organization. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions, or questions. To stay with us, reading the Buffalo News coming up next.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or another print disability that makes reading, holding a book, or even turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org. Your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service now presents a reading of articles and features from the Buffalo News for today, Tuesday, July the 21st. Your readers today are Lori and
JJ.
And let's look at the weather.
Weather.
Cloudy today, showers and heavier thunderstorm, windy and humid with a high of 75. A thunderstorm or two early tonight, then some rain and a thunderstorm. I think we're going to have thunderstorms. Low of 61. A little rain tomorrow, high of 70. On Thursday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 75. Friday, high of 78, pleasant with lots of sun. Saturday, high of 83, very summery, mostly sunny. And Sunday, high of 82, partly sunny. If that's not warm enough for you, go to High Needles, California, 106 degrees. And if you want to be cooler, go to Bradford, PA. That's 41 degrees.
That's close by.
Yeah. The air quality index is moderate, with today's main offender being particulates, as you would expect. The sun sets tonight at 8:48. And if you're thinking about swimming or fishing, Lake Erie water is 73, Ontario is 70, and the Niagara River is 72. On to you, JJ.
The school board, on page 1, the school board moves fast to fill a vacancy amid crises. Been having some trouble here. From Ben Tsujimoto. The Buffalo School Board on Monday tried to tune out criticism that's now reached the highest levels of New York state government and take a meaningful step forward. The board on Monday afternoon nominated Roscoe Henderson III to fill its North District vacancy. Henderson, a retired Buffalo police investigator who also serves on the boards of several arts organizations, received the required 5 votes of support. He's expected to be sworn in at a special meeting on Wednesday. Stefan Wright, Louis Mookie Hawkins, Kathy Evans Brown, Juanita Everhart, and Talia Rodriguez voted in favor of Henderson, while Larry Scott, Adriana Zulik, and Eric Bowen abstained from the vote. The 3 who abstained did not immediately provide a reason for their decision. Henderson's nomination comes after about 3 hours of interviews with candidates to finish the term of Cindy McEachin. She resigned last month, citing frustrations with board transparency and operation. The board deviated from its original plan on how to replace McEachin. Instead of conducting interviews Monday, alerting the selected candidate Tuesday, and informing the public Wednesday, the board did all 3 in one day. Henderson will finish out the 2.5 years remaining in McEachin's terms, who stepped down from her North District seat June 24th. Henderson, who serves on the board of the Buffalo AKG Art Museum and CEPA Gallery, differed from the other candidates in that he does not intend to pursue re-election following the completion of McEachin's term. The 8 Buffalo School Board members listened to the perspectives of 6 candidates, all who live in the North District, which generally encompasses the areas north and west of Delaware Park, as well as a slice of the Elmwood Village. Denora Santos Baines, Jack Echevarria, Matthew Varelli, Braden Pritchard, Jonathan Robbins, and Henderson each answered the same 9 questions in a 30-minute interview blocks. The board held public interviews, which it live-streamed on its YouTube account amid a recent avalanche of criticism and concerns regarding the conduct of district leaders and repeated criticism about its transparency. Despite the chaos or storms, or however we're wording this, we're strong. School board president Kathy Evans Brown said, "We're still collaborating despite our differences. We're built for this." The latest to express concern was Governor Kathy Hochul, who was asked Monday about the allegations against former Superintendent Pascal Mubanga, who abruptly resigned Wednesday, just 2 days before District Administrator Antoinette Amos filed a legal notice accusing him of sexual harassment and abuse of authority on at least 18 occasions. Amos's Allegations also focused on board member Hawkins, who's accused of harassing, threatening, and retaliatory conduct in at least 8 instances, and is also the subject of a separate investigation by third-party law firm Hodgson Russ. The allegations of the misconduct are very egregious, Hochul told reporters. I condemn sexual harassment in all of its forms, full stop. And this should not be going on. I'm very much aware of it. The State Education Department is already engaged. The leaders shared little reaction to the recommendations of Buffalo Teachers Federation President Rich Nigro and State Assemblyman Jonathan Rivera that the board should not proceed with identifying McEachin's replacement due to a rapidly growing lack of public confidence in the board's ability to self-govern. A letter from BTF reads, making such a decision will only contribute to the growing lack of trust and transparency. Hochul added that the State Education Department is already in regular communication with Buffalo Schools, which is the target district of the state, and must file a district comprehensive improvement plan each year. Also, the district has 5 individual schools in the superintendent receivership, which funnels state resources to help improve the lowest performing schools. In terms of any thought of a state takeover, that has to happen from approval from the state legislature, Hochul said. That can't happen just by a dictate, and I don't know that it warrants that. But these allegations are deeply concerning. They must be investigated. There has to be full transparency. The leaders shared little reaction to earlier recommendations of Buffalo Teachers Federation President Rich Nigro and State Assemblyman Jonathan Rivera that the board should not proceed with identifying McEachin's replacement due to a rapidly growing lack of public confidence in the board's ability to self-govern, and making such a decision does contribute to the local growing lack of trust and transparency. Evans Brown said ulterior motives lie beneath the union leader's statement. Do you realize we're in negotiations with the Buffalo Teachers Federation? Evans Brown said. And the current contract with the Buffalo Teachers Union expires June 30th. And Evans Brown also defended the board's decision not to force Hawkins to resign or recuse him from the board activities. He has all rights and authority as any board member at this time. And Hawkins declined to share any further statement than what he said Friday when he said he did not plan to resign and wanted the truth to come out.
Back to the cover of the news. Data center fears spur residents of Western New York to speak out. Melissa Detbarn worries about how much energy data centers will consume. Ted Kuzio is skeptical about how many jobs those projects will create, especially in exchange for lucrative incentives. And Kate Powers questions why data center developers are in such a rush. Local residents spoke out Monday about a topic that has become a prominent one. What development of hyperscale data centers would mean for communities. They shared their thoughts at a roundtable hosted by Governor Kathy Hochul, who just imposed a 1-year moratorium on development of new data centers using 50 megawatts of electricity or more that haven't already secured the necessary environmental permits. The debate has put a spotlight on data center projects around the region, including a $19.5 billion complex proposed for Genesee County. Others have been proposed in Brockton, the town of Tonawanda, and Niagara Falls. Data center projects have generated fierce backlash in some communities, with residents fearful of the effects on land use, water, and their utility bills. Hochul said she intends to give the state time to create a framework to assess the impact on local communities in the face of strong interest by data center developers. Right now, I have over 30 projects before us in the state of New York. And if I powered every one of them, you would not be able to turn on the lights tomorrow, Hochul said during a meeting at the Kenmore Tonawanda Municipal Building. That's how serious this is. Detbarn, a teacher and town of Tonawanda resident, echoed that point. My biggest concern is really the energy and where the energy is coming from, she said. I think this is also an opportunity to think about the infrastructure we have for green energy and sustainable energy. This could be a huge opportunity for the state to kind of switch what we're doing for a long time to new technologies. Kuzio, a retired digital designer, said he doesn't see the job payoff from data centers. The numbers that we talk about is basically 1 full-time job per megawatt for those AI data centers, and most of them are maintenance, groundskeeping, and security, he said. They're not great jobs. He contrasted the 1,500 jobs lost when Sumitomo Rubber USA closed a tire plant in 2024 with the 125 permanent jobs Stream Data Centers estimates it would create at a complex it wants to build in Genesee County. Stream's project is seeking $1.4 billion in incentives. The Genesee County Economic Development Center has estimated that the project would generate $550 million in property tax and sales revenues over 30 years, and has said Stream would spend $268 million to complete electrical infrastructure at Stamp. Hochul said she doesn't believe Stream has the permit already in place that would allow its project to move forward at the Science, Technology, and Advanced Manufacturing Park, or STAMP, amid the moratorium. Stream has not commented on the moratorium, and the State of Environmental Conservation has not provided an answer. Cusio is also skeptical about the long-term viability of some data center projects, saying he views AI as a bubble. There are so many companies pursuing this. Not all of them are going to succeed, he said. So if we do pursue all, we're going to have a ton of failures across the state. And we are the people who are going to pay for it between the economic problems, infrastructure problems, and the cleanup afterward. Powers, a former professor, said the moratorium conveys a message to data center developers to slow down. There's a false urgency here that comes from capitalism very often, she said. It's that race to be first. You don't make good decisions when you're scrambling like that. Powers said she also wants to ensure that the Great Lakes are protected amid the rush to develop more data centers. The only way I think we can move forward in a sustainable way is if they slow down, take the time to think about how we do this in a way that considers public health and considers the environmental impact and helps us to conserve in this time of climate crisis, she said. Frank Lorendi, a retired construction engineer, wonders about the noise impact data centers will have. He lives near DigiPower X's cryptocurrency mining facility in North Tonawanda that has generated community outrage over noise. DigiPower has proposed converting its facility to an AI data center. Higher standards need to be implemented, which limit the noise emitted from these AI data centers, Lorendi said, and it should be stated that noise level must comply with noise ordinances of the town or city that they are operating in. Krista Atkinson, Executive Administrator of the Tonawanda Chamber of Commerce, said she worries about the impact data centers will have on the quality of life. They're going to come in, build facilities to make money for themselves and their businesses. We deserve protection to maintain our quality of life so that we can continue to live those lives, she said. Hochul, a Democrat, is up for re-election this year against Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, who's a Republican. In comments to reporters last week, Blakeman attacked the moratorium and pledged to rescind it if he's elected. He said the moratorium would cost the state jobs both in construction and in permanent jobs. What has she been doing for 4 years? Blakeman said in an interview with WRBG-TV in Albany. She should have had this figured out by now. Upstate United, a business advocacy group, said the moratorium will not only prolong uncertainty for companies looking to New York, but ultimately jeopardize potential investment, economic development, and skilled jobs. The moratorium will put on hold development of data centers such as the one proposed for the former Tonawanda Coke site, a project proposed for Niagara Falls, and a data center talked about for a location in Brockton in Chautauqua County. In the case of the Tonawanda project, developers John Williams and John Jensen had already asked the town's planning board to pause its review process before the moratorium was announced on July 14th. The developer said it was still waiting for specifics on the availability of electricity required to power the data center and on any needed upgrades to the site's infrastructure. Williams last week said that the items identified in Hochul's executive order are the same items that need to be considered before siting any industrial complex, whether a data center, an automobile factory, or a refrigerator warehouse for yogurt. I hope the executive order is designed to allow New York State to develop a qualitative process by which the state and local communities can evaluate the benefits of a project against its actual impacts and not simply be a reaction to vocal opposition against one specific industry that is more political than it is factual.
Thank you. You're listening to a reading of today's Buffalo News on your Niagara Frontier Radio reading service. It's now 15 minutes past the hour. From Kevin Hardy, we have an article, Democrats Focus on State Legislatures. Following a string of special election victories, the Democrats have a path to flip several Republican-held legislative chambers and break GOP supermajorities in states across the country this November. High prices and overall voter dissatisfaction with Washington have put control of the House and Senate in play this year, a dynamic that has trickled down with heightened Democratic enthusiasm in many state contests. For the most part, the Republicans are kind of playing defense more than offense, said Kathy Owens-Hubler, Director of Elections and Redistricting in the National Conference of State Legislatures. Midterm elections generally favor the party that doesn't control the White House. Still, it's unlikely Democrats can capture the majority in states. GOP lawmakers currently hold nearly 55% of the nation's 7,386 state legislative seats. That gives Republicans control in 28 state legislatures and Democrats control in 18, while 3 states have divided control of chambers, according to the NCSL. The organization is eyeing 10 Republican-held chambers, 4 Democrat-held chambers, and a tied state house in Minnesota for potential flips in control in November. My feeling generally is that it's going to be a good year for Democrats, Owens-Hubler said, but it's not going to be a blowout year. Wins in some states could deliver Democrats total control of state government, both legislative chambers and governorship, making it much easier to pass progressive legislation. In other states, weakening Republican majorities or breaking veto-proof supermajorities would make it easier for Democrats to object to GOP policies. Since President Trump's second term began, Democrats have flipped a dozen seats in special elections in Arkansas, Iowa, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, and Minnesota, Mississippi, and New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Texas, a lot of states, according to tracking by the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, which works to elect Democrats at state level. They've also flipped 18 seats in last year's general election in New Jersey and Virginia. Republicans have not flipped a single Democratic legislative seat. 2026 is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fundamentally transform state legislative power, said Heather Williams, president of the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee. The committee is touting record numbers of Democratic candidates running for office in some states and has announced plans to spend a record $50 million on state legislative races this year, with aims of flipping more than 650 legislative seats. In Michigan, defending their state Senate majority and winning control of the state House would give Democrats a so-called trifecta. They would need to flip 4 Republican-held House seats to do so. Michigan State Majority Leader Winnie Brink says she's confident her party will maintain or even grow its Senate majority. The House will be a tougher lift, she said, but the party's chances look good now. I feel very confident that we'll be working with the Democratic legislature in both chambers next term, she said. Nationwide, Republicans have acknowledged growing voter frustrations over affordability, while also arguing voters should support them for their work to withdraw congressional districts. Okay. Set off by a White House push to give Republicans more seats in the U.S. House, 10 states have completed mid-decade redistricting, a phenomenon unseen since the 1800s. This month, the Republican State Leadership Committee, which works to elect GOP state legislators, highlighted the party's redistricting successes and underscored that current races for state House control will determine which party draws future maps. In a statement to State Line, Committee President Edith Georg-Tunion said, Democrats can brag all they want about fundraising success, but no amount of cash changes the fact that their party is being pulled further left by the socialist wing calling the shots.
Oh, okay. Let's look at my view. And Peter Howard of Dunkirk thinks we can help others step away from the darkness. Reach out to those who seem lost. The bright and dedicated astronauts who rode Artemis II expressed profound appreciation for their country and the scientific community which afforded them the opportunity to see the Earth from a distance greater than ever before. There, from windows inside their little floating capsule, they beheld both the magnificence of our blue planet and the unfathomable darkness of space. Yet they have been unable to express anything profound about the journey. Their statements seem banal, uninspired. I expected something more meaningful than amaze, amaze, amaze. A few years ago, the great actor-writer William Shatner responded more thoughtfully after his short space voyage aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin New Shepard rocket. Shatner, then 90 years old, volunteered because he wanted to contemplate the mysteries of the universe, black holes, novas, etc., etc. Initially, he looked out from the dark window away from the Earth. What he felt, however, did not evoke a sense of fascination and discovery. I saw a cold, dark, black emptiness. It was deep, enveloping, all-encompassing. I turned back toward the light of home. I could see the curvature of the earth, the beige of the desert, the white of the clouds, and the blue of the sky. It was life, nurturing, sustaining life, Mother Earth, Gia, and I was leaving her. The cult classic film Gattaca offers an even more intriguing perspective on the outer space experience. Ethan Hawke plays a genetically inferior human who has outwitted the master race and fulfilled his ambition to become an astronaut. In the end, as his ship heads toward Saturn, he alludes to a theory of the origins of the universe. For someone who was never meant for this world, I must confess I'm suddenly having a hard time leaving it. Of course, they say every atom in our bodies was once part of a star. Maybe I'm not leaving. Maybe I'm going home. All this comes to mind because of something that happened recently in a supermarket involving someone dear to me. I will call her Sarah. Sarah had been a school teacher her entire adult life. Since her retirement, she has become increasingly introverted and reclusive. Shopping is one of the very few public activities that she still enjoys. She was in the produce section when a middle-aged man approached. He asked her if she was Miss from the elementary school. At first, Sarah was flustered, but then she nodded and she smiled. The man was happy to explain that she was his third-grade teacher and that he remembered her very fondly. This led to an animated conversation during which she seemed remarkably youthful. Most of us know someone like Sarah, maybe a loved one who has partially let go and who seems sometimes to be adrift in that space outside that dark window Shatner described. We fear for them, and we fear for ourselves. There is no medication or prayer that can slow the passage of time. The best we can do is something like what that man in the supermarket did for Sarah, which is to embrace the part of the living soul that remains, to shine a light on something good in this world, and to foster faith that somewhere out there is amazing light that will dwarf our darkness.
Amen. Thank you. And for the editorial, a debacle at the BPS. Buffalo Public Schools finds itself confronting yet another crisis of leadership. Less than a year into his tenure, Superintendent Pascal Mubenga resigned amid allegations of sexual harassment. A school board member, Louis Mookie Hawkins, faces related allegations from the same complainant and remains an active member of the board. Lost among the legal filings and investigations are some 30,000 students. They are innocent. They are the ones the adults in position and authority promise to serve and provide better educational opportunities. This will not help them on that journey. As reported by the News' Ben Sugimoto, a notice of claim was filed Thursday morning that accuses Mubenga of sexual harassment and abuse of authority, and Hawkins, the current East District School Board member, of harassing, threatening, and retaliatory conduct. Antoinette M. Amos, Buffalo Schools Chief Equity and Governance Officer, the claimant in this lawsuit, sets a strong example by noting, "I have learned that sometimes the most important thing a woman can do is refuse to be silent." Her broader message of empowerment and self-worth hits home. It might be the only positive message out of an ugly, disappointing scenario. Hawkins ran unopposed in November to replace longtime East District Representative Paulette Woods. Some of the accusations against Hawkins include sexually charged misconduct, while others point to retaliatory actions against Amos after she rebuffed the board members' romantic pursuits. Hawkins is the unnamed board member whose conduct remains under investigation by Hodgson Russ LLP, the third-party law firm selected by the Buffalo School Board late last month. The notice of claim indicates that when Amos approached Mubenga about Hawkins' continued freedom of access to district-related activities, including at City Hall, the superintendent placed responsibility on the board. Too many questions remain, including the specific responsibilities district leadership had to act on the situation. Amos's claims against Mubenga began last December 17th and continued through early July. The notice of claim describes multiple alleged incidents of unwanted sexual conduct and abuse of authority. Mubenga resigned unexpectedly at a special meeting of the Buffalo School Board that was intended to discuss the replacement of a board member who also resigned. The allegations detailed in the notice of claim are deeply disturbing and, if substantiated, would represent a serious abuse of authority. Public institutions today are expected to respond promptly and transparency to allegations of workplace harassment. Mubenga's short tenure here was already marked by significant challenges, including debates over school closures and the future of the district's high-performing Leonardo da Vinci High School. If these allegations are borne out, they would represent a profound betrayal of public trust. While a thorough investigation must be immediately underway, with regard to accusations against both Mubenga and Hawkins, the community is left wondering how district leadership allowed confidence in its local governance to erode. Regardless of how legal claims are ultimately resolved, the district's handling of these allegations has already undermined public confidence. The district must demonstrate that no employee or elected official is above accountability. Buffalo students deserve leadership focused on classrooms rather than controversy.
And on a positive note, we need to look at the cartoon for today.
Yes.
In the center of it, we see the World Cup, and around its shoulder looks to be a matador's cape. And it's saying, "Ole, ole." And underneath it says the Reign, R-E-I-G-N, in Spain, with lots of confetti raining down upon the trophy. That's a great one.
Yeah.
And let's look at another voice. Communities must work to fight food insecurity. In New York State, nearly 1 in 7 residents struggles to access food on a consistent basis. As highlighted in the New York State Council on Hunger and Food Policy 2025 annual report, food insecurity is closely tied to broader challenges such as affordability, transportation, supply chains, food distribution, and access to nutritious options. The report also underscores the need for organizations, communities, and partners to come together and connect resources to the people and the neighborhoods that need them. Across Western New York, many organizations are doing that. Among them is the Independent Health Foundation, which reaches more than 200,000 community members each year through free community-based programs. Through programs focused on nutrition, wellness, and community health, the foundation helps open doors to fresh, nutritious foods for families in both rural and urban communities. In 2025, the Independent Health Foundation's Healthy Options program provided more than 15,000 healthy meals to more than 600 families across 6 Western New York zip codes. Through its Good for the Neighborhood program, the foundation distributed more than 2,300 produce bags, providing people with fresh ingredients to prepare a healthy meal at their home. Western New York's Feed More Western New York plays a vital role in connecting food resources with residents and partner organizations across the region. In 2024, Feed More Western New York provided food assistance to more than 165,000 individuals through a wide range of programs. That same year, its food bank distributed nearly 16 million pounds of shelf-stable food to food pantries, soup kitchens, and emergency shelters. The Independent Health Foundation is proud to support Feed More Western New York through its signature programs. Following the 2025 Kids Run at Delaware Park, the foundation donated nearly 5,000 pounds of fresh and non-perishable food collected from their participants and partners. Food insecurity is a shared responsibility. As highlighted in our 2025 annual report, we will continue to do our part and work with organizations to strengthen food access and build healthier, more resilient communities. And this was written by Dr. Fuad Sharif, who's a member of the Independent Health Foundation Board of Directors.
Thank you. And from Susan Estrich, in education, merit does have limitations. The New York City public school system is 62% black and Hispanic. At its 8 most prestigious competitive high schools, 80% of the students are Asian or white. Wait, that's considered the most selective of the city's schools. Stuyvesant High, 777 students were offered slots. Of those, how many, or should I say how few, went to black students? Take a guess. It's 2026 with equality for all. 3. And 21 offers went to Hispanic students, together with 1/3 decline from last year's freshman class. The selections are entirely based on performance of a 4-hour test in English and math, for which these incoming freshmen literally study for years. Proponents of the testing regime argue that it is entirely merit-based. Opponents point to the results and argue that there is more to future success than can be measured on a 4-hour test, and that the test itself is racially discriminatory. I've always been a great fan of test and merit system, as I was a kid from a middle-class background with no special connections who was very good at taking tests and writing papers. Let the preppies inhabit their elites. I had better grades. My mother was a secretary, but I got into Harvard. I bartended my way through law school, but I made law review president. Merit, or what passed for that, got me the scholarships I desperately needed. They opened doors that otherwise would have been closed to me. Asians make up 19% of all public school students, and 69% of those offered places at Stuyvesant. I celebrate those Asian families, many with first-generation children who study long hours to take their places at school, which will open more doors to them. I don't want to take away a system that rewards their incredible accomplishments and drive, but I do want to spread it around, and that's the problem. Are New York's leaders of tomorrow really going to learn what they need to in classes with at most 3 black students in them? Won't their educations be poorer as a result? And what of the opportunities these schools provide, not only for college but for future success? Can anyone really be comfortable with a disproportionate denial of those opportunities based on numbers that correlate with race? We need more black and Hispanic students moving up the ladder, and so do they. Mayor Zoran Mamdani, a graduate of one of those schools, the Bronx High School of Science, who at one point before he ran for mayor said the test should be abolished, and now says the issue is a struggle for him. Mamdani's 2 predecessors both condemned the test. Bill de Blasio called it a monumental injustice, and Eric Adams called it a Jim Crow school system. It's the state legislature that would have to change it. The alumni groups are reportedly fierce in their opposition and have spent millions on lobbying efforts. They are full of people like me, and who am I to tell them they're wrong? And yet there's something very wrong with the result. Some things rather, and if we don't dare talk about them, they will never change.
You're listening to a reading of today's Buffalo News on your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time? 33 minutes after the hour. And Mark Gongloff says, the weather app you rely on could soon develop blind spots. We live in an era when people will invest hard-earned dollars in a stock simply because an anonymous Redditor with a handle like Looks Mattinger Trader posts, we need to save Wendy's or some such. But when it comes to the weather, most of us still demand more information before committing to an outfit, an outing, or, more important, preparing for a natural disaster. So it is somewhat alarming to learn that the U.S. weather forecasting system, long the envy of the world, is gathering notably less information than it once did, thanks to the Trump administration's budget and staffing cuts. Meteorology is not an our Wall Street bets territory. Nobody has yet been able to measure a related decline in forecast quality, but meteorologists warn the risk is rising that we will miss extreme turns in weather. That could cost all of us a lot in unnecessary deaths, property losses, and economic disruption. And of course, that pain will be felt most quickly and broadly in a home insurance market that is already in crisis. Insurance is fundamentally a prediction business. Anthony Lopez, the chief executive officer of the Miami-based Your Insurance Attorney, told me. The less confidence insurers have in predicting the weather or events, the more expensive insurance is going to become. That uncertainty gets priced into your policy. Two recent news reports, one from Gizmodo and another from Politico, said that meteorologists and emergency managers are alarmed that the National Weather Service, part of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is no longer launching weather balloons as frequently as it once did. Because of staffing shortage, several NWS stations in a vast swath of the middle of the country, from the Great Plains to the Northeast and Midwest, are often launching only once a day, skipping the mornings. These balloons give forecasters a sort of MRI of the entire atmosphere, from the ground to the top of the troposphere. Losing their morning snapshot can make forecasting later weather more difficult. The West is also a particularly bad part of the country for blind spots because weather systems tend to travel west to east. Some observers blamed a lack of balloon launches for the failure of NWS to predict tornadoes that hit Kansas in April. The NOAA denied its launch schedule had caused it to miss any tornadoes and said twisters are notoriously fast developing and hard to predict. No meteorologist has yet found any fingerprint of budget cuts in any forecast for Kansas or elsewhere. Still, these balloon observations are particularly important for spotting turns in severe weather, meteorologists warn. The fewer we have, the greater the risk. A severe storm takes people by surprise, causing unnecessary death and damage. The possibility of a miss is out there. Andrew Markowitz, a meteorologist with the energy industry and a hefty TikTok following, told me, "We might not notice model performance getting worse, but this does increase the possibility of a miss, and a preventable one at that." Kevin Knipp, a CEO of Midland, an emergency weather radio and communications company based in Missouri, told me 3 types of weather are especially sensitive to reduced capacity in data collection: rapidly intensifying hurricanes, tornado outbreaks, and localized flash flooding. These, of course, are some of the biggest sources of the rise in billion-dollar weather disasters, coinciding with the recent 62% jump in home insurance costs across the country. A lack of real-time data makes it harder to pinpoint when and where these disasters will be most severe, Knipp pointed out. To correct for this, emergency managers might overreact and say evacuate 3 counties instead of just 1. This could lead to alarm fatigue when people become desensitized to warnings. Accurate forecasts, on the other hand, save lives and help first responders and cleanup crews get to disaster sites quickly, cutting down on the insurance losses that pile up when damaged properties sit exposed to the elements for days or even weeks. Even if NWS forecasting hasn't noticeably suffered yet, today's squeeze will do long-term harm. Former broadcaster Crystal Egger, who is now president meteorologist and co-founder of the risk assessment firm Monarch Weather and Climate Intelligence, pointed out. Personnel and data collection shortages at the NWS will make it harder to keep advancing weather science and building new and better models. Already, some government meteorologists are getting burned out and discouraged, and they're leaving the field. Last year's layoffs included experienced hands, weakening NWS's institutional knowledge. Meanwhile, low staffing is also making critical websites fail and depriving all data users of vital information. And forget about private companies replicating what NWS had built anytime soon. America's world-leading weather forecasting system was built over decades with tax dollars that have already been spent. That's the real loss. All that knowledge, that can't be replicated by private enterprise. Shar Miller, director of environmental analysis at Pomona College, told me, "This is a slow catastrophe in the making." Those relatively modest investments have already saved Americans billions of dollars in damage. NWS's economic benefit is $100 billion, according to the American Meteorological Society, or about 10 times its cost. Improved hurricane forecasting alone shaved 23% from hurricane costs between 2007 and 2022, or $2 billion per hurricane, according to a study Cornell University researchers published in April. President Trump's NWS cuts reverse that math, saving the government very little while guaranteeing ever higher costs for the rest of us, from still higher insurance premiums to unexpected catastrophes. They freeze or turn back the clock on forecasting advances, even as the climate grows more chaotic and dangerous. All that's gained is more uncertainty, of which we already have a glut.
Oh boy, that's not good news. Well, as part of our newspaper reading, we now present the day's death listings, and if you need further information on any of these names, please call us at 716-821-5555. That's 716-821-5555. I'm getting lost over here. Gardner Robert G. passed on July 17th of 2026. Gehring McCarthy Shannon passed on July 18th of 2026. Husted Mary Evans, age 78, passed away July 11th. Linton Ann V. née Urbanski, 81, passed away July 17th. McDonald Elaine C. Nikeoff, 85 years of age, passed away July 18th. Maciejewski Dennis A., passed away July 17th. Rockwood Judith Ann, passed away July 1st at age of 82. Roncone Elizabeth J., 91 years old, passed away July 19th. Storms Louise E. née Morris, passed away July 17th. And Roble Barbara J. née Heinz, passed away in this month. If you need any further information on these names, please call us at 716-821-5555. That's 716-821-5555.
Are you ready for the stars? Happy
boy.
birthday for Tuesday, July the 21st. This is a slower paced year. It's okay to rest and rejuvenate your energy. Focus on relationships with those who are kind, helpful, and have your back. That's something we should all do. Aries, financial speculation might be rewarding today. Meanwhile, expect surprise invitations to socialize. Tonight, check your finances. Taurus, avoid power struggles with partners, spouses, and close friends today. Nevertheless, something special, favorable, or financially attractive might benefit your family today. So tonight, listen, cooperate. Gemini's spontaneous short trips and chances to meet new faces and see new places will please you today. Meanwhile, work-related discussions might be challenging. Tonight, get yourself organized. Cancer, this is a financially fortuitous day for you. If you have a chance to pursue a new job offer or ask for a raise, do it. Tonight, socialize, celebrate. Leos, an encounter with a friend or a member of a group might surprise you today. It might broaden your horizons in some way or increase your connections. But tonight, just relax. Virgos, avoid arguments with daily contact siblings and relatives, especially if you are trying hard to make a point or to convince others to agree with you. Listen to your inner world. Tonight, you're going to have an interesting discussion. Libras, a friendship might delight you today, or perhaps you'll become involved with an organization or a club in a new way. Tonight, maintain your belongings. Scorpios, today you might give in to an impulsive or compulsive behavior. Something unexpected favors you. This might be jealousy. That doesn't sound like it was going to favor you. Tonight, you win. Sagittarius, unexpected opportunities to travel might fall in your lap today. If so, act quickly because this window of opportunity will be brief. Act fast. Tonight, you can enjoy your privacy. Capricorns, avoid money squabbles today or arguments about possessions. Instead, keep your eyes open because you might benefit in practical ways or financial ways through the wealth and resources of somebody else. Tonight, be friendly. Aquarius, focus on partnerships and close relationships. Something unexpected will delight you today. Be open to whatever happens. Tonight you will be admired. Pisces, steer clear of controversial subjects today because they could become emotionally charged. Meanwhile, this is a great day to suddenly improve your health or your job. How do you suddenly improve your health? I'm not sure. Your chance to do so will have a very short window. Tonight, it's time to explore. Back to you, JJ.
And we're back into the city and region with Buffalo Next and development from Jonathan Epstein. Construction activity at Canalside is picking up this summer as 2 housing projects are underway near the waterfront, while a third is now ready to kick off. After several weeks of controversy over a shift toward more affordable apartments, state officials announced Monday that construction on the last major piece of Canalside redevelopment will begin with work on a 251-unit housing project at the North Odd Block. The $225 million project by Philadelphia-based developer Penrose will fill in the last big piece of land at the long vacant site of the former Memorial Auditorium, which was torn down in 2009, leaving a big hole in the ground that city and state officials have spent years trying to redevelop. It will join the adjacent Explore and More Children's Museum, the new 14,000 square foot chandlery building at the state's Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, recently completed, with a visitor center and retail store and 4-story brick building, and the Heritage Point market rate housing project that Sinatra and Company Real Estate is now working to complete by 2027 on the adjacent South Odd Block. Since the Odd was demolished in 2009, wow, that's well over 10 years ago, the prime real estate has been just vacant. I'm sure people thought there was a plan, something to immediately happen after, but it's taken this long, and that is maddening, said Governor Kathy Hochul. It's a failure of ambition, a failure of vision, and it leaves communities frustrating and giving up hope. Those days are over. Almost next door, the steel frame is rising on the first of several new buildings at Marine Drive Apartments, which is being redeveloped into modern affordable housing to replace this 70-year-old public housing complex in a $600 million project that's been talked about for years. Today marks a brand new beginning on Buffalo's waterfront, from the Outer Harbor State Park to where we are today, building spaces that reflect the very best of Buffalo, said Hochul, who joined other public officials and Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority leaders in a ceremonially signing a beam that will be lifted into place on the structure. 2026 is the year when broken promises finally become promises that were kept. The 3-phase Marine Drive project, a joint venture of the Habitat Company and Duvernay and Brooks, will feature a range of construction from a 1-story community center and a mid-rise apartment buildings to parking ramps and new 12-story towers. The $250 million first phase will yield 254 apartments across 4 buildings. In all, more than 1 million square feet of space will be built on the 9.7-acre site at 90 and 100 Erie Street. Generations have passed through those doors. Thousands and thousands of families have called this their home, Hochul said, but after 70, sometimes brutal winters, those buildings have taken a beating, and I believe that 600 residents who call Marine Drive home deserve something better. Upon completion, the redeveloped complex will include 730 apartments, up from 616 currently, and it will create a new configuration of 1 and 2 and 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom units to fit the current and expanded population, along with 855 parking spaces, 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail, and a commercial space, a community center, a public plaza, and a green space. We're not just slapping on some Band-Aids and calling it a day. We're replacing them completely, Hochul said. This is a major makeover, but, she added, Marine Drive is just the beginning. If we're serious about our housing shortage, the only answer is that we have to build more housing. So at North Odd, plans call for Penrose to construct 3 buildings with studio, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments aimed at various income levels, along with 18,000 square feet of retail space and 20,000 square feet of community space. The 340,945 square foot project calls for a 12-story building with 199 apartments, the retail space, a 6-story building with 52 apartments and 3 retail spaces, and a much smaller retail-only building. All will be located on a 1.9-acre site at 130 Main Street, along with 142 parking spaces. One quarter of the units, or 64 apartments, will be priced at market rate rents, while another quarter will be workforce housing targeted at households earning up to 80% of the area median income, and that's a level that the city and state officials, as well as housing advocates, say essentially translates to market rate in Buffalo, but is still technically considered affordable housing. The other half will be equally divided, one quarter each, between units priced at no more than 60% and no more than 40% of the area median income. Whether we call it the projects, low income, affordable housing, whatever we call it, just call it housing that's affordable for the people who live in the city of Buffalo, said Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan. This is a place where families are started, where memories are made, and this deserves the attention of the community. Rents will range from a low $757 per month for a one-bedroom unit at the 40% of the AMI level to as much as $2,950 for a three-bedroom market-rate apartment, according to the East CHDC. Rents at the 80% AMI level are about $1,900. The all-electric project will be financed with $152.9 million in funding from state government programs under New York Homes and Community Renewal, including $87.5 million in bonds that must be repaid, $63.4 million in direct subsidy, and $2 million in HCR Rural and Urban Community Investment Funds. Of that, federal and state low-income housing tax credits are expected to generate $31.8 million and $35.6 million respectively, and Empire State Development Corporation is also providing $12 million from its New York Rush program, $10 million from its New York Works Economic Development Fund, and $2.5 million from the Regional Council CAP Fund program, and all the projects will benefit from $20 million in a state brownfield tax credit following remediation, which yields a total of $197.4 million in state funding, covering 88% of the overall project cost, with a subsidy of $786,000 per unit.
And
on to you.
The county halts coverage for claims by Bills fans. Erie County carries a $1 million insurance policy to cover lawsuits against Sheriff's Office deputies if any face criminal misconduct allegations in their interactions with people attending Buffalo Bills games. It's a policy that is both expensive and it is rarely used. The last time a lawsuit resulted in a major claim against a sheriff's deputy and required an insurance payout stemmed from a 9-year-old incident when a deputy beat up a Bills fan who swore at him. But the county's private insurance carrier, Acceptance Indemnity, dropped this insurance coverage as an option to buy. The county's insurance broker said rising insurance rates overall, increased payroll costs, market conditions, and claims histories likely factored in the company's decision to no longer offer that policy. That has left the county scrambling for alternatives, with the new bill season just around the corner. Given that the soon expiring insurance currently carries a premium of more than $500,000 and insures only up to $1 million, the county had two options. They could purchase a new and possibly even more expensive insurance policy from a different carrier, or they could give up the insurance policy and self-insure any future stadium claims against the sheriff's deputies. The county administration intends to do the latter. The decision to self-insure is among the most consequential in a new stadium security agreement reached with the Buffalo Bills. The county legislature will be asked to approve the new agreement next week. County Attorney Jeremy Toth said that after talking with the county's insurance broker, it made the most sense to self-insure the county against stadium security claims, given how high the insurance premium has become compared with its maximum payout of $1 million. In years past, premiums would run $100,000 to $200,000, but premiums have risen drastically in recent years. The irony of it going up is I can only think of one claim that we ever put in against that insurance premium, Toth said. Then versus now. Currently, the Bills and the county roughly split the cost of the existing insurance policy, with the Bills picking up $250,000 of the premium cost each year. Under the new arrangement, neither the Bills nor the county would pay any insurance premium. However, should a claim or lawsuit be filed against the sheriff's office because of an altercation between sheriff's deputies and a member of the public, the Bills have committed to paying half the cost, up to $250,000 a year, to the county to put toward defense and settlement expenses. The county would be responsible for the rest. So if a lawsuit against the sheriff's deputies cost $200,000 to defend and settle in a given year, the bills will be responsible for paying the county $100,000 toward that cost. But if a lawsuit costs $1 million, the bills would be responsible for only paying $250,000, while the county would be on the hook for the remaining $750,000. If the sheriff's office faced no stadium claims in a given year, the bills would pay nothing. The upside is that taxpayers will no longer have to pay $500,000 or more each year for an insurance policy that typically goes unused. Erie County Legislator John Barnesy from the town of Tonawanda said last week that it seemed wrong that the bills could pay nothing toward the county's insurance costs, given that they are required under the current security agreement to pay $250,000 a year toward the county's annual insurance premium. Toth responded that the bills were unwilling to pay money to the county toward legal costs when the county faced no stadium-related claims. In a break with the past, the bills have relented in their requirement that the county carry outside private insurance against claims against the sheriff's office, which provides security for the stadium along with the bill's private security force. The sheriff's office also provides traffic control services along with the county's Department of Public Works. That has the potential to save both the county and the bills money on insurance costs, but only if serious claims against the sheriff's staff continue to be a rarity at the stadium. Sheriff John Garcia told the Buffalo News that he was not involved in the negotiations for the new insurance deal with the bills, but based on what he's heard, he thinks the plan makes sense. Recent history has shown that serious incidents at the stadium, resulting in ejections and arrests, have fallen considerably, as the Bills have become a winning powerhouse team and as ticket prices have continued to rise. The team has also revised its tailgating and fan experience policies to curb bad behavior. And Sheriff's Office officials said they focused more on de-escalation training and techniques.
Thank you. From Jordan Valinsky of CNN, here's an interesting little story. Little booze bottles are big business. The future of big booze might be smaller, literally. Jameson maker Pernod Ricard, Patron owner Bacardi Limited, and Kendall Jenner's 818 Tequila are just a few of the alcohol companies expanding their mini bottle selections. Shoppers looking to stretch a dollar are increasingly choosing smaller packages instead of abandoning their favorite premium brands and making minis one of the fastest growing package sizes for alcohol. The biggest gains in market share during the first quarter were brandy and tequila in 50 milliliter bottles, which is the size of a standard shot, as well as 375 milliliter tequila and cordials, according to NIQ data provided to CNN on Bump Williams Consulting. A standard bottle of alcohol is about 700 to 750 milliliters. We see high-end brand interest, although perhaps frequency and pack size have become bigger parts of the purchase decisions lately as consumers manage their discretionary income, said Dave Williams, president of Bump Williams Consulting. This month, Pernod Ricard expanded its Malibu rum liqueur into a new 100 milliliter format, adding to a growing lineup of smaller offerings that include Screwball peanut butter whiskey, okay, and Absolute Vodka.
And you're listening to a reading of articles from the Buffalo News for today, Tuesday, July the 21st, on your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We will return for more readings after this short break. Your readers today are Lori and
JJ.
If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you.
You're listening to, we'll continue now with our reading of articles from today's Buffalo News. Your readers are JJ
And Lori. And here's one close to my heart.
Yes.
The cost of ice cream dips as butterfat prices fall.
Yay!
Ice cream prices are cooling off at the cash register ahead of National Ice Cream Day. Even as summer heat drives up the demand for frozen treats, the average price of a half-gallon of ice cream container in the U.S. was below $6 last month, according to data released Tuesday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. For the past 2 years, these frozen desserts averaged around $6.26 per container. The primary driver behind the dip is the price of butter. Butter prices came down significantly, nearly 9% year over year, according to last week's Consumer Price Index. Meanwhile, ice cream ingredients like milk and sugar had slight price increases, according to CPI data. In 2023, butter, which is traded on commodity exchanges, was priced at $3.50 per pound, its highest level since 1965. Butter has since dropped to $1.65 per pound, or 31% below the 5-year average. Fresh cream, valued for its rich butterfat content, is the most expensive ingredient in ice cream. Butterfat is not butter, though both are made from the natural fat found in milk. However, all American butters are at least 80% butterfat under federal regulations. Selective breeding and high-tech dairy production have increased the supply of butterfat, driving wholesale prices down. Over $11 billion has been invested in new manufacturing processes in America's dairy industry, according to the International Dairy Foods Association. These investments have reshaped the way farmers use advanced technology and genetics to produce milk more efficiently. What we are seeing over the past 5 to 7 years is dairy farmers using genetics and feeding for breeding for fat. And so the average percentage of fat in 100 pounds of milk has gone up substantially. Phil Floyd, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Dairy Products Association and an insights advisor at agricultural data company EverAg, told CNN. It's a welcome relief to manufacturers since the FDA requires products to contain at least 10% milk fat by weight to legally carry the name ice cream. However, higher levels of butterfat in ice cream appeal to those who are looking for a very satisfying indulgence as a treat. And other innovations we're seeing in the dairy interest is increased levels of butterfat in ice cream to enhance the flavor, said Michael Dykes, IDFA's president, CEO. A recent poll by IDFA and Morning Consult found that 89% of respondents said flavor is the most important consideration when purchasing ice cream, outpacing price and container size. I would guess that's true.
Yep.
Shoppers are likely not thinking about the genetic advancements made in the dairy industry. That's true, I'm not. But they might want to grab an extra scoop while they can. I do.
Yep.
Retailers like Whole Foods and Target have promotional pricing on ice cream products throughout the summer. And data from Cart Happy, which tracks grocery prices via Chrome extension, shows Walmart changed prices more than 1,000 times in its great value half-gallon ice creams over the past 2 weeks, despite selling only 7 flavors. So get out there, get some.
Really? I'm not going to tell you how much ice cream I ate yesterday. but National Ice Cream Day was Sunday. We were all online talking about it.
Gotta celebrate those things.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Great ice cream out there. I have a nice shop 2 blocks away from me. Well, from Reuters, PayPal faces takeover bid as stock falls and growth slows. 5 years ago, PayPal was a Wall Street favorite and a leader in digital payments. Since then, the stock has plunged. Apple Pay dominates payment services in the U.S., and PayPal is facing a takeover bid it does not like. What happens next? The company synonymous with digital payments this week got a $53 billion offer to be taken private by upstart rival Stripe and buy out shop Advent International. PayPal's board is discussing the bid but believes $60.50 a share is not enough. People familiar with the company said it is a come down for the company that helped to pioneer e-commerce and email-based payments, launching the careers of tech titans Elon Musk and Peter Thiel in the process. Founded in 1998 in San Jose, California, the firm was acquired by eBay in 2002 and spun off as an independent company in 2015. Continued growth pushed the market value as high as $360 billion in 2021. But since then, its growth has slowed and competition intensified, while multiple attempts in recent years to jumpstart its business have borne little fruit. Dealmakers are now weighing the value of PayPal's sprawling payments ecosystem, from its 400 million plus consumer accounts to its merchant checkout business, raising the question of whether the company's worth more as a single entity or a collection of assets such as the Venmo peer-to-peer payment app that could be sold off in pieces. In February, when the company named a new CEO, it acknowledged the need to address its position relative to competitors within the broader industry landscape. While some progress has been made in a number of areas over the past 2 years, the pace of change and execution was not in line with the board's expectations, it said in a statement. Enrique Lores, who took over as CEO in March, has not commented on whether PayPal would pursue a sale, while bigger rivals such as Apple, Google, and Samsung and upstarts including Stripe and Affirm relentlessly rolled out new ways for consumers and businesses to pay for goods and services. Analysts say PayPal was slow to explore opportunities in digital banking and commerce or to offer fresh options when more people were using their phones to pay. Why bother becoming a digital bank if you can just be the world's biggest checkout button? Dan Dolev, senior analyst at Mizuho, said. I think it was just too easy to drink the honey straight from the checkout jar. Investors and industry executives are frustrated with PayPal's performance, said one source familiar with the company's deliberations. PayPal started before the iPhone even existed, but last year Apple Pay's U.S. market share exceeded PayPal's by 10 percentage points, according to PYMNTS Intelligence, a research company. PayPal has also lagged many rivals in adopting AI and pushing into agentic commerce, in which AI agents negotiate and complete purchases on a user behalf. Owen Lau, an analyst at financial services firm Clear Street in New York, said PayPal prioritized winning market share by pricing aggressively but failed to charge enough to generate attractive returns. Lau added that growth has slowed across key parts of the business, including Venmo, while newer products such as Buy Now, Pay Later have not panned out. PayPal's user base has plateaued, he said, making growth a secondary concern to boosting profits from existing customers. They just want to win market share, he said. They're not charging appropriately and they're losing momentum in other parts of the business. The company's had 3 CEOs in 4 years, and this March embarked on a second turnaround effort since longtime chief Dan Schulman stepped down in 2023.
And Old Pink arsonist admits to torching the iconic landmark. The man who set fire to the Old Pink Tavern, destroying the Allentown landmark 2 summers ago, pleaded guilty Monday in federal court to arson. John W. Burns, age 42, faces a mandatory minimum prison term of 5 years, but could be sentenced to up to 20 years. Federal sentencing guidelines suggest a 5-year sentence. Since his arrest, prosecutors in court filings have portrayed the Buffalo man as a spiteful individual setting fires to settle scores against his perceived enemies, causing untold damage economically and psychologically to individuals and the larger community. Defense lawyers, since Burns' September 2024 arrest, have sought treatment to address his mental, alcohol, and substance abuse problems, convincing a judge at one point to allow him to be admitted to a 28-day inpatient treatment program and later to outpatient counseling. Byrne has been in pretrial custody since May of 2025, when he violated condition of his home incarceration at his parents' Grand Island home by removing his ankle monitor. The Grand Island High School graduate told U.S. District Judge Richard Arcara that he previously worked as a delivery driver and a sauté chef. Burns said he was seeing a psychiatrist before his incarceration and is also being treated for cirrhosis of the liver. The plea agreement spells out the details of Burns' actions on June 14, 2024. Firefighters responded to the fire at 223 Allen Street at 5:36 a.m., finding the rear of the 2-story-and-a-half building fully engulfed in flames. Video reviewed by investigators showed a person wearing dark clothing near the origin of the fire. The video footage showed the person using a light blue propane torch, similar to one that investigators recovered at the scene. Video evidence showed that before setting the fire, the person was looking through the garbage totes behind the building near where the fire started. The person also appeared to carry 2 white garbage bags to the back of the building before the start of the fire. At approximately 5:21 a.m., the person walked away. Approximately 20 seconds later, flames were reflected on an air conditioner unit, and a short time later, a visible fire could be seen. Go ahead.
And from Alan Pergament, WIBV replaces 7 p.m. news with streaming shows. The regular low-rated WIBV TV Channel 4 weekday newscast at 7 p.m. on sister station WNLO TV or CW23 is a thing of the past. The next star station is replacing the newscast with several programs carried on a streaming site that will air on the broadcast channel under the title WIBV Plus at 7. Nexstar really has nothing to lose by transitioning to streaming shows because the regular newscast at 7 p.m. has so small an audience. During the May sweeps, the hour-long 7 p.m. newscast averaged a 0.2 Nielsen rating, competing against half-hour newscasts on WGRZ TV Channel 2 and WKBW TV Channel 7. Channel 2 dominated the time period, averaging 2.8 rating in May, about twice the average rating for Channel 7's newscast at 7 p.m. A rating point in Buffalo represents 6,370 households, which means the 0.2 rating that WNLO received at 7 p.m. represented about 1,275 households. Channel 4 would be unlikely to carry a 7 p.m. news program to compete with Channel 2 or Channel 7 newscast because it airs the highly rated popular syndicated programs Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy from 7 to 8 p.m. weekdays. The shows running on the streaming app WIBV Plus will be carried on WNLO on a rotation to be determined during the week. Here's a summary provided by the station's website of some of the streaming programs that will be aired on WNLO. Buffalo Brief co-anchors Kelsey Anderson and Dave Graber go in depth breaking down the top stories of the day. The Evening Dish, Marley Tuskus, an anchor at 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., and Michaela Carazzolo have everything you need to know about what's going on in Buffalo and beyond. WKL, the Mafia Huddle, but BKL stands for Bills Kickoff Live, and this weekly show is hosted by sports anchor reporter Carol Jones, which is your one-stop shop for coverage on the Bills. And then what's brewing in WNY, morning co-anchors Scott Patterson and Sarah Minkiewicz discuss weekly activities at local coffee shops. So there's no need for a news anchor at 7 p.m. Before she left in April, Jordan Norkus anchored at the newscast on WNLO and hasn't been replaced, although Nexstar is advertising for an opening for a multimedia journalist and anchor at a salary between $60,000 and $65,000.
And the news in brief. One person is killed, another injured, after 2 groups fight at Attica Prison. One incarcerated person died and another was injured in an altercation Friday at Attica Correctional Facility, according to the New York State Police. The State Police's Bureau of Criminal Investigation was notified of the death about 6:50 p.m. Friday. State Police said one group of incarcerated people attacked a second group, resulting in the death of one incarcerated person. A second incarcerated person was treated for non-life-threatening injuries at Erie County Medical Center. A total of 7 incarcerated people were involved in the fight and have been identified. The State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision Office of Special Investigation is assisting in that case, and the State Attorney General's office was notified and responded to Attica. Police said the investigation is ongoing and more details will be released when they are available. Vehicle in fatal thruway crash was impaled by a sheared-off guardrail. A 33-year-old Buffalo man died Sunday morning in a collision with a tractor-trailer on the thruway in Evans. The incident happened at 4:33 a.m. in the eastbound lanes of Interstate 90. The driver of the Kia sedan, driving in the passing lane, drifted onto the driving lane, colliding with the tractor-trailer, a preliminary investigation found. Both vehicles went into the shoulder on the south side of the highway and struck a guardrail. The tractor-trailer partially sheared off the guardrail, which then impaled the Kia, troopers said in a news release. The driver of the Kia was identified as Andre R. Aiken. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the tractor-trailer from Belleville, Illinois, showed no signs of impairment and was taken to Erie County Medical Center with minor injuries. FedEx is set to eliminate 36 jobs at its Cheektowaga site next month. FedEx Corporation will eliminate 36 jobs when it closes its Cheektowaga shipping and distribution facility next month as part of a multi-year effort to streamline its operations that has already resulted in the shuttering of more than 200 facilities, and that's across North America. FedEx had announced the plan to close its Cheektowaga facility at 299 Cayuga Road in March as part of a company-wide initiative to consolidate its operations. FedEx, in a filing with the State Labor Department, said it is cutting 165 jobs statewide, including at sites in Syracuse, Ithaca, Horseheads, Orcascani, and Binghamton. The cutbacks will begin August 3rd and be completed by August 28th. As part of the consolidation plan, which is expected to save $2 billion, FedEx will streamline pickups and deliveries with fewer vans driving around, more centralized stations, and uniform technology. Besides the Cheektowaga facility, FedEx has distribution and transport facilities at 2799 Walden Avenue in Cheektowaga and 3779 Lakeshore Boulevard in Hamburg, as well as smaller FedEx office, FedEx ship sites, and other stores.
Oh, we're going to look at some sports now. Yay. What's so funny about the NHL? This is from Rachel Lindsay. And somebody had to do it. Someone had to watch each schedule reveal video made by the 32 NHL teams, whether they were snippet length on social media platforms or full-length features on YouTube. NHL schedule release videos are never about the schedule. They're about how much flair, creativity, and backhanded fun each team uses to mark the 84-game drop. Expect the highbrow, the lowbrow, creative use of toys and props for animation when you watch these schedule reveal videos. Sometimes they hit the funny bone and sometimes they fall flat. Here's a rundown on some of the best, worst, funniest, and even seemingly uninspired videos by NHL teams, including the Buffalo Sabres, but caveat emptor, as is the case for many popular division productions, there will be spoilers. So the best use of a prop? Buffalo. Bob, the boxing dummy that got pummeled by fans, including the Buffalo Blade Gang, during the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs, becomes the centerpiece of a video posted to the Sabres social media channels and their website. Bob emerges from off-season man cave hibernation to post up in front of KeyBank Center for a butt-kicking schedule reveal. The Sabres made it fast, short, and to the point while using some of the scenes and sounds from the Sabres' first postseason appearance since 2011. Now that's funny. And long live the Adams Division, Montreal. Jake Evans shares a copy of the 1992-93 Canadian schedule with teammate Alex Newhook, who immediately notices that the Quebec Nordiques logo were playing in Hartford a couple times. Evans adds, finally Newhook asks, "That has to be a joke, right? This is not actually really a schedule. We're not playing the Nordiques 7 times." And then the ultimate family road trip, Minnesota. Take a drive with the Folignos from Sudbury, Ontario, Mike Foligno's hometown, to St. Paul, Minnesota, where Marcus and Nick play for the Wild. You'll see the sights and sounds of Ontario backwoods, a nod to the Sabres, and a snub of a Dallas Stars fan. You can't help everyone, boys, Mike tells his 2 sons. There's the obligatory road trip utterance of, "Are we there yet?" and an overlooked carpool pickup promise that's sure to get a laugh. And the most nostalgic is Washington. This is the year Alex Ovechkin goes out in style. The Capitals made a 6-minute highlight reel of the great 8 scoring goals against all 32 teams over the course of his 21-year career. A good way to start a possible send-off. And the best slice of life is Pittsburgh. If you've walked through the T-shirt shops, wholesale food suppliers, and even eaten at the original Primanti Brothers on 18th Street in the Strip District of Pittsburgh, you'll appreciate the Penguins' schedule reveal. You might laugh about their reference to Nashville, especially if you watch a specific Saturday Night Live episode hosted by actor Miles Teller. The runner-up was Calgary. The Flames honored the final year of the Scotiabank Saddledome with Harvey the Hound's Day at the Calgary Stampede. Who doesn't love a mascot that sports Western wear? And you laugh at a joke about you, Nashville. Remember when the Predators became a punchline on Saturday Night Live? Nashville flipped the script and created its own spoof of SNL, 3+ minutes of sketches and digital shorts. They included the tale of a family leaving downtown Dallas for Plano, Texas, a reference to the Stars' relocation plans, and the foul debut of right-wing Luke Evangelista's signature cologne, Vange. Okay. A grown-up Toy Story is Columbus. A Blue Jackets legend still has a love for toys and a hatred for opposing teams, as evidenced by the destruction of a Union soldier reeks in the playroom. He busts up a teddy bear tea party, Boston. He even puts a plush pig in a blender, Carolina. The culprit who oversees his collection, Rick Nash, one of the original Blue Jackets.
Wow.
They wrecked my stuffy. The best movie parody, New Jersey. Any merger of sports and pop culture is good. Any merger of sports, fashion, pop culture, and one of the most enduring movies about the fashion industry, even better. The Devils put their own spin on The Devil Wears Prada by making a hockey player named Jack Hughes into a Miranda Priestly-style front office overlord and morphed longtime Devils defenseman Ken Daneyko into Nigel Kipling. The pre-makeover Andrea Sachs and Jay Devil, the team mascot. Okay. The best television reference, the New York Islanders. Cal Chutterbuck is back for another season as an intern with the Islanders, and this time he has a budding rival in Matt Martin, another former Islanders player. If you're a fan of The Office, you'll appreciate the use of Jell-O as a prop in the Islanders' offices. That's got to be good. And the rival reveal is Anaheim. Animated packs of cards are open to reveal some of the Ducks' opponents this season in fashion of a video game. The Sabres don't get this snarky treatment, but guess who does? The Philadelphia Flyers. Days after the Ducks matched the Flyers' $18 million a year offer sheet to Leo Carlsson, they took aim at the Flyers in their schedule reveal. Specifically, took aim at Gritty, the Flyers' Google-eyed, shaggy orange mascot.
Wow.
And the best use of phonetics, Winnipeg. Jets captain Adam Lowry gets his Letterkenny on as the Jets take a cue from popular Canadian sitcom about life in rural Ontario town. The Jets get it alphabetical and alliterative as they go through each NHL opponent. For example, Buffalo's Bison bewilders because of Blade. Okay. Also, the Jets may have convinced me to make Letterkenny a summer binge watch. And the best geographic guide is Utah. The mammoths show off well-hidden sites and events unique to Utah. Reveal their schedule is short, sweet, informative, and the video is well-hidden on Instagram. You'll probably want to get a mini soda at a swig location if you get to the Beehive State. And leaning in on the joke is Florida. If you need 8 hours of footage from Fort Lauderdale's beaches and waterways set to soothing meditative music, Florida's reveal serves as your summertime Yule log. The Panthers also made 84 posts on their X account for each of the 84 games on the schedule. Well, that's going to be big.
Yeah.
The best use of brevity, Carolina. All the Hurricanes needed to tease the 26-27 season and hopes of a championship repeat. Post on X a 20-second clip of the aftermath of one big party on hockey's version of Tobacco Road. You don't need a Hollywood-level production to tease the next season when you win the Stanley Cup. Reading the room properly is Detroit. You don't want to create too many laughs a day after organizational reassignment of the Red Wings legend and former general manager Steve Yzerman. But Detroit stuck the right tone as a play-by-play announcer. Ken Daniels walks through the schedule at the front of a classroom of disruptive students, and he's briefly joined by Paws, the Detroit Tigers mascot who enters the wrong room on the same day as Major League Baseball schedule reveal. Starting at fellas is Boston. The Bruins appointed Nikita Zadorov as their interim social media administrator on Thursday, but Boston took nearly 4 minutes for his schedule reveal. Reminder to admins, keep videos at 2.5 minutes tops. Upside, Jeremy Swayman barked like a dog on camera, then used a hockey stick to slash open a piñata. Charlie McAvoy, also in the video, will serve his penance at the start of the season for a similar act. The outtakes are better at Tampa Bay. The Lightning used the audio format for their schedule reveal as goalie Andrei Vasilevsky recorded a narrative in the fashion of a bedtime story. The bloopers from Vasilevsky's recording session posted on the Lightning's media channels are more entertaining. And then there's a few that fell flat. Chicago, the Blackhawks showed off classier and classless landmarks in the Windy City. Take note of reveals for Detroit and Florida. Edmonton, the Oilers tried too hard by employing a skit involving a used RV salesman to promote the schedule, although according to the Penguins and Capitals as being old and somewhat accurate touch. Los Angeles, the Kings explained the move to an 84-game schedule and what life was like in the 93 to 94, the last time the NHL landed an 84-game schedule. Too much math, not enough humor. The New York Rangers made a series of minute-long highlight reels with dates and opponents by division with a theme for each vertical video. The Rangers, though, put about as much effort into their reveal schedule as they did into their 25 to 26 playoff pursuit. Ottawa, nearly 8 minutes of local media members sniping in the fashion of a Real Housewives reunion. Next year, go with Amazing Race Ottawa. San Jose, the 2025 to 26 season rewind is more like a motivational tool in a pregame hype video in a movie trailer format. There isn't an actual schedule in the video. The Toronto Maple Leafs locker room attendants shuffle through discarded items from the visitors' locker room at Scotiabank Arena, identifying opponents by specific items. There is no expired offer sheet for Philadelphia, and Vegas's Golden Knights use a highlight reel of the franchise's many memorable moments over the last 10 years, from its NHL inception to its Stanley Cup final berth in June. It was a commercial, not a schedule reveal. And finally, Vancouver. The Canucks use a trick shot artistry, shooting pucks into different props inside and outside Rogers Forum in Abbotsford, British Columbia. And the highlights of the 4-minute video, cameos by the Sedin twins and Finn, the Canucks mascot.
I didn't even know these reveals were a thing. That was enlightening just for that.
Well, you learned a bunch of stuff. Have fun.
Yeah. You're listening to a reading of today's Buffalo News on your Niagara Frontier radio reading service. The time is 27 minutes after the ages. Let's go back to soccer. It's a reign for the ages that Spain can cherish. This summer's World Cup was so good, nobody wanted it to end. So Spain and Argentina played on and on in Sunday's final, through 90 minutes of regulation, then through a 15-minute extra period, before Ferran Torres gave Spain the only goal it would need to claim the title with a 1-0 victory over Argentina at a sold-out MetLife Stadium. Wow. It was an epic finish to an epic tournament, one that set records for everything from attendance and TV viewers to games played and goals scored. And it was almost certainly the last World Cup for Argentina captain Lionel Messi, age 39, who finishes his record-setting 6th tournament as the all-time leader in games, 34, assists 12, and goal contributions, 33. His parting gift was a silver medal and a handshake from President Donald Trump and a hug from the King of Spain. But none of those were the prize he wanted most. So when he left the stage after receiving his medal, he broke down in tears.
Aww.
A swarming Spanish defense made him little more than a spectator for most of the match. So while Argentina came into the final leading the tournament in goals per game, it also became the first team to go 90 minutes without a single shot in a World Cup final. It was outshot 20-2 for the game, and Spanish keeper Unai Simón, who gave up just 1 goal in 8 matches, was not forced to make a save in registering his 7th clean sheet. He was named the outstanding keeper of the tournament. That allowed Torres, who started just once in the tournament, to become the hero. Honestly, I can't believe it. I just am trying to enjoy it, but I don't know what's happening, he said. I didn't think too much. I just saw the ball coming to me, and I just shot with the power of all the Spanish people. Rodri, Spain's captain and the anchor of the team's smothering defense, was equally stunned. I'm in shock, he said. I cannot express my feelings in words. I'm like in a cloud. For Rodri, who also led Spain to a European Championships 2 years ago, Sunday's victory capped a personal 2-year struggle to return from a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament he sustained in 24, a month before he hobbled on stage with crutches to receive the award as the world's best player. It's been a really tough time, said the midfielder, who broke the World Cup record for completed passes in the tournament with 692. I just want new generations to see my example as an opportunity to, when you go down, you can rise again. This is my philosophy. It's my entire life. Sometimes things go well, sometimes things go wrong, but always the positive. The only goal came seconds into the second extra time period, with defender Pedro Porro sending a long cross to the left post for Nico Williams, who headed it back into the center of the box for Torres, a second half substitute who buried the left-footed volley to give Spain its second World Cup title. Torres, who entered the game just past the hour mark, is just the fifth man to come off the bench and score in a World Cup final, and the first since Germany's Mario Götze, whose extra time goal beat Argentina in 2014. Williams, who got the assist, was also a late game substitute. "We are world champions. I am very proud," Luis de la Fuente, Spain's coach, said through an interpreter after his team ran its unbeaten streak to a record 38 games. "I am very happy for my players. We've won in all the categories," he continued. "We've grown together. We reached this stage today thanks to their talent, to their attitude, to their comportment, and to their values, and to the huge footballing talent." On to you.
And for golf, McIlroy's drive to succeed falls short. This is from the Newswire services. If the Open Championship had been decided by which golfer wielded his driver the best, then Rory McIlroy could have laid claim to his seventh career major Sunday at Royal Birkdale Golf Club. The Northern Ireland native led the Open in strokes gained off the tee with 7.98 and in driving distance at 339.3 yards. Alas, the rest of his game did not live up to his tailor-made QI4D. McIlroy posted a 1 over par 71 in the final round to finish at 1 under at 279, 9 shots behind champion Ryan Fox of New Zealand. I just sort of stuck in neutral for most of the week. McIlroy, after his 3 birdie, 4 bogey round, obviously shot a good one on Friday to get myself in for the weekend and back in. Yeah, even par over the weekend is not going to get it done. Yeah, I just felt like anytime I got a bit of momentum out there, I seemed to make a bogey. McIlroy said he went back to a driver setup that he was more comfortable playing, one with a little more heft. I went into it at, I think it was Memorial maybe, he said. I started to use the heavier driver again. Then I think might have led the field in driving in Shinnecock at the U.S. Open. Certainly led it last week in Scotland, and I'm there again this week. That's a huge positive going forward, especially accuracy-wise. The length is the length, and I'm always going to have that, but it's just getting the ball in play a little more with the driver was just a struggle at the start of the year, and I figured that out. It's just trying to get the rest of the game to match up to it. Before McIlroy puts in extensive work to get the rest of his game in shape, he's going on holiday with his wife and daughter. Then he'll split his time between pursuing the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup and the DP World Tour's riches and titles. He's also looking forward to the Irish Open in mid-September. As for his week at Royal Birkdale, he'll file away the knowledge that the course changed significantly from when he shared forth at the Open in 2017. I feel like a lot of the changes they made, the greens were raised up, and a lot of the fall-offs and stuff, it didn't play like a traditional links course, McIlroy said.
Oh, he blames the course.
Blame the course.
Logano is back on a historic track for the win. Joey Logano returned to North Wilkesboro Speedway with a smoking hot victory, and so did NASCAR on Sunday night. The 3-time Cup champion dominated by leading a career-high 323 laps as the sport welcomed the historic short track back to the Cup Series regular season points schedule for the first time since 1996 in the Window World 450 in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Winless since early May of last season at Texas Motor Speedway, the number 22 Team Penske driver notched his 38th career victory in 16 seasons by topping Denny Hamlin's number 11 Toyota over the final half of the race, beating the points leader by 0.859 seconds in a long stretch of green flag racing. Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, and Shane Van Geysenberg rounded out the top 5. Sixth place, Bubba Wallace was the final car on the lead lap. A win anywhere at this point would have sounded great, but it's coming here at North Wilkesboro is awesome, said Logano, who is 15th in points after the 5 caution race. The track is just something that clicks for us. I feel like I know exactly when I need to go fast around this place. Crew chief Paul Wolf was able to give it to me. We knew we had to capitalize on the points. A win would be great, but we were going to need the points. Hamlin used lap traffic to cut into his deficit to Logano and congratulated the 36-year-old Ford driver on the run. "You've just got to compliment him on a great day," said points leader Hamlin, who moved 68 ahead of Tyler Reddick in the standing. "It was a great drive. They were really good. He had a lot of speed and didn't give up on the short run or the long run. It was wildly impressive." After 3 cleanly raced support events over the weekend, Ryan Blaney was slotted first after qualifying was washed out Saturday, but his number 12 Ford team had to fix a power steering issue that sent him to the back of the 37-car field. That gave the point to Gibbs, who took them to green in a points race at the track for the first time since pole sitter Ted Musgrave did so on September 29, 1996, before a nearly 3-decade-long shutdown of the .625-mile short track. Gibbs led the first 40 circuits until John Hunter Nemechek spun after contact with Zane Smith, and the first caution period ended with Hamlin taking 2 tires to claim the lead on the restart. Gibbs hustled back in his number 54 Toyota and narrowly beat Van Geysenberg to win Stage 1, which consisted of 80 laps. Logano, Hamlin, and Carson Hocevar were the next 3 finishers. Logano, the 2024 winner of the All-Star race at NWS, took the lead from Van Geysenberg on lap 113 in turn 4 in the 185 laps that made up Stage 2. He increased his advantage over second-place Chase Elliott to 3.5 seconds by lap 150 and soon lapped Gibbs' speeding penalty, but Hamlin found his way to move by Elliott in the first long green flag run on the short track. On lap 183, Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman wrecked coming off turn 2 and slid into the pit road entrance for the 3rd caution, putting William Byron and Elliott 2 laps down after their green flag stop. Logano captured Stage 2 for his first segment win this season, and Hamlin, Briscoe, Wallace, and Van Geysenberg earned top 5 bonus points.
Sounds like that was a pretty good race. Well, for baseball, Major League Baseball, Chisholm's home run leads the Yanks to a DH split. And Jazz Chisholm Jr. hit a tie-breaking homer with 1 out on the 8th inning Sunday night as the New York Yankees held on for a 2-1 victory over the visiting Los Angeles Dodgers, splitting a doubleheader in a bullpen game for both games. After wasting numerous opportunities earlier to expand a 1-0 lead, the Yankees regained the lead when Chisholm lifted a 1-0 fastball off Evan Phillips for 0-1 into the lower rows of the left center field seats. It was a second baseman's 14th homer and his 5th in the 8th inning or later. Before Chisholm homered, the Dodgers had 2 on in the top half of the 8th. David Bednar, 4-3, struck out Shohei Ohtani and retired Andy Pages on a full count pop-up that Chisholm caught in a shallow right field. Bednar kept the score tied after Fernando Cruz allowed a tying homer to pinch hitter Tommy Edman on a 0-1 split and issued 2 walks. Bednar opened the 9th by walking Freddie Freeman, but ended New York's second win in its last 11 home games by retiring the next 3 batters. New York used 5 pitchers in the nightcap after Cam Schlitter lasted 4 1/3 innings in an 8-2 loss on Sunday afternoon. Ryan Yarbrough started and allowed 2 hits in 2 2/3 innings. Paul Blackburn followed with 2 1/3 innings, and Brent Hedrick also tossed 2 scoreless innings before Cruz faltered, and despite Edmonds' heroics, the Dodgers lost for the 6th time in 10 games. Los Angeles used 7 pitchers after getting a complete Game 4 hitter from Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the opener, and Will Klein started the game and allowed Cody Bellinger's run batted in single among 3 hits in the first. And then the White Sox Burke shut down the Jays. Sean Burke allowed 2 hits in 6 2/3 innings Sunday afternoon, while the visiting Chicago White Sox defeated the Toronto Blue Jays 3-0. Burke, at 7-4, allowed 1 walk and struck out 5. In 2 outings against the Blue Jays this season, the right-hander has allowed just 1 run in 12 2/3 innings. Grant Taylor allowed Ernie Clements' infield hit and Nathan Luke's bunt single to open the bottom of the 9th. The threat ended on a lineout and a double play grounder to give Taylor his 5th save of the season. Colson Montgomery went 2-4 and hit a solo home run for the White Sox in the rubber match of the 3-game series, and Chicago won the season series at 5-1. And finally, Lindor helped the Mets beat the Phillies. The Nolan McLean struck out 10 over 6 scoreless innings as the visiting New York Mets notched 6-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies on Sunday in the rubber game of their weekend series. Francisco Lindor hit a long homer as part of a 3-for-3 afternoon in which he also walked twice and drove in 3 runs. That was more than enough support for McLean at 7-6, who allowed only 2 hits and a pair of walks in lowering his ERA to 0.75 for his last 4 starts. Philadelphia starter Alan Rangel, 0-3, gave up 5 runs, 7 hits, and 3 walks to go with 4 strikeouts in 4 innings. Alec Boehm's homer accounted for the only run for the Phillies. So there you have it for baseball.
In news and notes around sports, former England captain and manager Kevin Keegan has died at the age of 75, and his former club, Newcastle United, said this on Monday. Keegan's family and Newcastle announced in January that the 2-time European Footballer of the Year was undergoing cancer treatment without disclosing the details of that illness. In June, Keegan, who was nicknamed King Kev and Mighty Mouse, was one of the most influential figures of his generation in English football, and he revealed he had stage 4 cancer. We are devastated to learn of the passing of Kevin Keegan, one of the most iconic, influential, and deeply loved figures in our club's history, Premier League Newcastle said in a statement. In other soccer news, World Cup winners Spain climbed back to the top of the FIFA men's rankings on Monday, while runners-up Argentina dropped to second place. France and England remained 3rd and 4th in the rankings, respectively, despite Thomas Tuchel's side beating Le Blues to clinch the bronze medal. Brazil rose to 5th, while Morocco climbed to a record-high 6th. Belgium coach Rudi Garcia will leave his job at the end of the month after he and the country's football association agreed not to renew his contract, and that was announced Monday. The SEC considers splitting from the NCAA. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey kicked off conference media days in Tampa on Monday with a clarification for anyone doubting the seriousness of internal conversations about splitting from the NCAA. So they're real. People have talked about that, Sankey said. They've opined about the frustrations that bring them to the point of saying we should look at something significantly different. I do not believe that this is a leverage point. I think that's just honest communication. Sankey said the NCAA must function in a healthy manner or risk simmering frustrations becoming more significant. As the top official in one of the most consistently successful sports conferences, Sankey openly shared the SEC is at odds with portions of the NCAA membership on several matters. Those include possibly discontinuing conference championships games. Sankey wants the SEC to keep the league title game, the size of the college football playoff, and how other leagues handle scheduling. Krejcikova wins the Athens title. Barbara Krejcikova took down number 4 seed Maria Sakkari of Greece 7-6-5, 6-3 to claim the Athens Open title on Sunday. Sakkari is an Athens native and was pursuing her first WTA title since September 2023 when she won in Guadalajara, Mexico. The crowd was with the 30-year-old hometown hero, but Krejcikova had other plans as she rallied from a 4-1 hole in the first set to force the tiebreaker and overcome a 3-2 deficit to win it narrowly. After Sakkari broke Krejcikova's serve in the third game of the second set, Krejcikova immediately broke back and went on to take the final 3 games of the match. Krejcikova, the 2021 French Open and 2024 Wimbledon champion, went 3 for 3 in converting break points en route to her 9th WTA singles title. Elsewhere, Egypt's Mayar Sherif claimed her first title in nearly 4 years Monday after Spain's Paula Badosa retired in the final of the Isai Open in Romania. In a match carried over from Sunday due to rain, Sherif was up 6-4, 4-0 when Badosa was forced to bow out due to an injury after 72 minutes. Sherif claimed her first WTA Tour level trophy since winning the Parma Open in Italy, also on clay, and that was in October of 2022. Fatigued Merlier exits the Tour. Tim Merlier abandoned the Tour de France on Sunday as he succumbed to fatigue in the mountains, although he underscored his status as one of the event's dominant sprinters with 3 stages wins. After 2 hard weeks of racing, Tim Merlier has left the Tour de France today, his team, Soudal Quick-Step, said in an X post. The Belgian gave us unforgettable memories with 3 impressive stage victories and showed true fighting spirit every single day. Soudal Quick-Step sports director David Bramati told Belgian sports website Sporza that Merlier, age 33, had a difficult day and he was exhausted.
Okay.
It takes a lot.
Well, now we're going to move on to advice from Asking Eric. Dear Eric, today I was shopping at one of the major chain stores where I shop often. I checked my items out at the self-checkout line. When I got to my car and unloaded my purchases, stuck in the back of the shopping cart there was a small item that I had completely overlooked. I immediately took the item back into the store, checked it out, and paid for it in the self-checkout line. Then a clerk followed me to my car, and I'm pretty sure took down my license plate number. She did not speak to me. I feel absolutely horrible about this, but it was a very honest mistake, and when I realized it, I immediately tried to correct it by taking the overlooked item back to the store and paying for it. I have never stolen anything in my entire life, and I'm not about to start at the age of 80. What should I have done? She signs, the innocent shopper. And he answers, Dear shopper, you did the right thing. Indeed, you did more than many would have done after discovering an honest mistake. Many people resent the jobs lost to self-checkouts and the way the companies pass a task on to the consumer for no pay. I can't see how you could have acted more responsibly. The detective work on the part of the clerk is troubling. It also seems to be an overreaction. It could amount to nothing, but if you want to clear your mind, you may want to stop it and speak to the manager about what happened. If the store is concerned about loss prevention, they should have spoken to you while you were in the store. Taking down your license plate, if that's what the clerk did, reflects poorly on them, so ideally, they'd clear the air with you too. And dear Eric, I have a sister, Carol, who is also my best friend. Her daughter, my niece, is a complete narcissist and also a con artist. 6 months ago, my niece's husband ended up in the hospital with an aortic abruption. After several surgeries, the doctor said he needed a heart transplant, and 6 weeks ago he got a new heart. He's still not doing well. A GoFundMe was started for the family, and instead of using it to pay her bills, my niece uses it to party away. 3 years ago, my niece was investigated by our state's attorney general for misplacing and misappropriating drugs she was supposed to give to her patients. She needed a $4,000 retainer, and my sister paid it. She went to trial, and she lost her nursing license. I'm the only one who knows this. Now my niece's mother-in-law is texting my sister saying it takes a village to raise my niece's kids, and my sister should do more. The mother-in-law is retired and a very wealthy former lawyer. She doesn't know the whole story. Meanwhile, my niece posts things on Facebook about what a devoted wife and mother she is, even though she leaves the kids with my sister all the time. Since her husband has been in the hospital, my niece has flown to Miami twice, Costa Rica once, and goes on her party weekends every other weekend. She's also using the GoFundMe for tummy tucks, liposuction, and a breast enhancement. Then she calls my sister and says, while I'm away, you can do the laundry and clean my house? I've known the mother-in-law and her husband for more than 40 years. Should I tell the mother-in-law the real story so she stops putting pressure on my sister? If not, how else can I support my sister? And she signs as supportive sister. And it's signed, Dear Supportive. Okay, excuse me there. First, ask your sister if she wants you to help by intervening with the mother-in-law. There seems to be a lot of chaos surrounding your niece, and the last thing you want to do is get yourself wrapped up in it. You may find that your sister doesn't want more conversation about all of this. Ultimately, this is between her and the mother-in-law. So if she wants to be forthcoming about the challenges she's having with your niece, she could. The best way to support her may be to encourage her to set firmer boundaries with her daughter and to seek the appropriate support to keep her grandchildren safe. You can be upfront about this, telling her that you're concerned about her and you think the situation with her daughter is out of hand. Really. This doesn't have to come across as a judgment, but if she's open to constructive feedback, it might be helpful to be reminded that she doesn't have to put up with this, and indeed doing so isn't the best path to supporting her grandchildren or her daughter for that matter.
Let's see what Heloise has to say, or the people who write in. Dear Heloise, you had a recipe for fat-free cream soup base that was delicious. Since my husband and I love preparing soup all year, I wanted to ask if you'd print this recipe for me and other soup lovers. With a little leftover chicken and mushrooms, I can make a tasty soup. By the way, I've read your column for years, and I love all the hints you've shared with your readers. And that was Linda from Ponca City, Oklahoma. Of course, Linda, for this recipe, you'll need the following. 2 cups non-fat dried milk powder, 1 tablespoon dried onion flakes, 2 tablespoons cornstarch, 2 tablespoons chicken bouillon powder, half teaspoon of basil, a half teaspoon of thyme, and a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. Put all the ingredients in a large saucepan with 2 cups of cold water. Cook on medium heat, stir constantly. Once it becomes thicker, add your other ingredients such as shredded chicken, mushrooms, celery that is sliced very thin, and whatever else that you'd like in your soup. Dear Heloise, opening tiny bottles. I use 2 pairs of pliers to open tiny bottles. One holds the bottle in place, and I use the other to gently but firmly turn the cap. Using tomato paste for stews. Dear Heloise, I love to try new recipes, so when my sister-in-law told me that she makes her beef stew with tomato paste and water as her base, I thought it sounded tasty, so I tried it. And this is the only way my husband wants stew now. That's what I do. When I make stews or chili, I often double the recipe and freeze the leftovers. For some reason, it always tastes better about a week or 2 later. As long as it was frozen, if it's more than a week. But anyway. Goodbye, tennis balls. Dear Heloise, I've used a walker for 5 years and used tennis balls on its legs for 3 years. They wear out quickly and can be hard to cut and place on the legs. So I switched over to plastic ski sliders about 2 years ago, and I haven't had to replace them since. 2 years ago, it cost about $6 for a package of 4 ski slides, which is cost effective and works well on any flooring, or it's even good outside on the cement. And finally, packing a flat sheet. Dear Heloise, now that summer camping season is upon us, consider packing a flat bed sheet with your tent. On cold nights, it's amazingly good at keeping the ground chill from your sleeping bag. On hot nights, it lets you sleep on top of the bag with just a sheet as a cover. During the day, it can serve as a tablecloth for a picnic table, although I wouldn't want to sleep on ketchup, A twin sheet also is perfect for a pup tent. Larger tents call for larger sheets, of course. On to you, JJ.
We're going to read another sports story. Basketball. The Wings win the 6th straight. Buchers gets injured. Arik Ogunbowale scored 20 points, including 6 in the final 2 minutes, 39 seconds of the game after Paige Buchers left with an injury as the Dallas Wings marched to their 6th straight win by a 90-82 decision over the Los Angeles Sparks on Sunday afternoon in Arlington, Texas. The Wings, at 17-8, enjoyed a 6-point lead at halftime after an uneven half and were up by 5 after 3 quarters. Buchers and Neka Ogwumike, I'm sorry.
I don't know how to say that either.
Ogwumike collided on it. Ogwumike drive into the paint with 3 minutes 33 seconds to play, and Dallas holding on to an 80-76 advantage with Buchers on the floor for several minutes with an apparent head injury that forced her from the game. Dallas responded with a basket by Odyssey Sims and 3 baskets by Ogunbowale to push its lead to 7 points and held on through the final minute. The Wings' winning streak is their longest since the 2015 season when the franchise was located in Tulsa. Buchers finished with 25 points for Dallas, while Jessica Shepard had 11 points and 14 rebounds, and Ozzie Fudd also scored 11 points. Ogwumike led the Sparks 10-15 with 17 points and 10 rebounds, with Derica Hamby adding 16 points before fouling out. Cameron Brink hit for 10, and Erica Wheeler dishing out 10 assists. Los Angeles, which has lost 4 straight, played without star guard Kelsey Plum, who remains on the shelf with a left leg injury. Both teams led through a back-and-forth first quarter, with Dallas going up 15-8 on a Fudd 3.6 minutes into the game. Los Angeles trimmed its deficit to 2 points after Hamby's layup with 1 minute 28 seconds left, but the Wings finished with a quarter with the 8-point straight points and carried 27-17 advantage after 2 minutes of play. The Sparks clawed back to within 4 points when Brink canned a pair of 3 throws with 7 minutes 8 seconds to play in the second period, and Dallas stoked the margin at 40-29 with a flagrant 3 throw with 4 minutes 38 left before Los Angeles swung back, pulling to 46-40 with a late 11-6 run to cap the first half. And the Wings took 68-63 advantage into the final quarter.
You've been listening to reading of articles and features from the Buffalo News for today, Tuesday, July the 21st. We read the Buffalo News live on weekday and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., and we rebroadcast at 4 p.m. For more information, call 716-821-5555. Your readers today have been Lori and
JJ.
Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.
If you or people you know shop at any of the Dash's supermarkets, please save Dash's register tapes for radio reading. Our agency receives $2 for every $100 in Dash's register tapes. Radio reading has raised thousands of dollars so far. Anyone can drop off their Dash's tapes to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 1199 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, between William and Clinton Streets. Or Dash's tapes can be mailed to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 1199 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 14227. Any questions on Dash's tapes for radio reading? Call us at 716-821-5555, and thanks for caring. who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability